Well, I think what motivates me the most is sort of a combination of my upbringing, life experiences, and educational pathway. I think in terms of my upbringing, my parents are both second generation Mexican American, but their families were migrant farm workers. They used to go from Texas to Colorado to Wyoming to Eastern Washington and ended up settling there. So that's where I was born and did my early childhood. This was an all Mexican town, basically. Um, and then my father went on and had opportunity to get work in the construction industry and became a carpenter, and later in life became a contractor. And my mom was pretty traditional, stay-at-home mom, but she got the itch to wanted to do more, and she did. She went and got education and uh, became a receptionist, but she used to do transcribing and all that stuff. So I sort of, within the family, had opportunity to witness my parents really have opportunities and sort of that desire to live the American dream or to get ahead. And so I guess part of, and so that in terms of my early childhood was, I did see that within the family, and the family was supportive. But my dad had a third grade education. My mom had a 10th grade education. She had three children by the time she was 21. So, I mean, that's sort of, and so we lived through, sort of paycheck to paycheck. And during the winter, construction being what it is, I was unemployment check to unemployment check. And so again, I've sort of been through. I know what hardships are, and the sacrifices people have to make. Um, and and then I think the other part of in terms of upbringing, was our neighbors were Quakers, and they used to take me to their meeting place. And so I sort of grew up in that type of an environment in terms of, I think, my sort of moral development was really strongly shaped by that. And that's always, I look back and you don't know it at the time, but it really, between the two, I think, sort of set my moral compass. And then I think in terms of education, I've again, not having sort of role models or people that knew about higher education, anybody in the family, I was sort of on my own in terms of finding my way through that maze. Um, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I remember my high school counselor told me that I was good with my hands and should look at the trade school option. Never talked about college, never did SATs, never went that pathway, even though I was a B plus student. I was pretty solid in school. It was just, again, his perception, didn't know me from anyone else, but that was his advice. And I had worked a couple summers with my dad, and I knew I wasn't good with my hands. And so I looked at education as being a way to not having to, work construction. And through that, again, really began to get exposed to other opportunities that existed, but realizing that a lot of people don't have that opportunity is, again, your expectations and self, determination, I guess, are sort of are shaped by your experiences. And if you don't have or aren't exposed to other things, then, again, you are what, your environment, the opportunities and expectations of things of your environment really shape, your pathway. And so I think it's through those sorts of combined experiences that I recognized that there was not anything particularly special about me growing up. I was just this Mexican kid in a, I was quiet and didn't stand out. And but I had several opportunities that sort of, or people in my life that really shaped my direction and my thinking. And I remember one was I had finished my finish my master's program in counseling psychology. I was going to be a middle school counselor. I actually started uh, in that position in the Yakima Valley, where I had been born and raised, early childhood, and decided after about 3 months on the job that that wasn't going to work for me. So I transitioned and went into juvenile corrections. And I had the opportunity, and was sort of a house parent. This was back in the day before they were unionized, and we lived in 24/7, and we got two days off like a month. And so I was basically a full-time parent, at 24, 25. But exposed to young guys that were coming through that had been arrested mostly for not too violent things. And at that time, they could be arrested for statutory crime. They didn't go to school, delinquent, that sort of stuff, and they got stuck. And in working with them, it really helped me see that, again, when we provided opportunities and guidance to kids, they could change their lives around. And the sad part is when they left us and went back into their environments, a lot of times it just didn't continue. But it really was that recognition that, with caring adults in their lives, that they really have the opportunity to make changes. And again, we don't quite have the system to continue to support those changes in many instances, but it is something that has stuck with me. And so through these combined experiences, I have the belief that if you can provide hope, caring adults, and opportunities for young people, and not just young people, but that people with that can really change their lives. And so that's sort of been my guiding principles, I think, is trying to do that, recognizing that, again, I was fortunate enough to have some people that came into my life that helped shape my direction and path forward, but many people may not have that. I think here in Tennessee, we have opportunities both at an individual and collective level to get involved and to make change. At an individual level, again, you see a person who's homeless on the streets, asking for money. It's not judging them, it's maybe giving them some money, recognizing that, we're not walking in their shoes. We don't know what the challenges that they are experiencing. And, sometimes people think, well, this is a racket. They try to sort of place their understanding of the situation, how their viewpoint on what that person is experiencing, and you can't really do that. So on an individual level, you can, just through small acts, even acts of kindness, of smiling at somebody who may be having a bad day, and it may change their life. I mean, at an individual level, again, you can volunteer, you can contribute. There's lots of things that you can do to change and to make things better for people in Tennessee. I think in a collective level, certainly there are a lot of different organizations, churches, associations that people can work through. A lot of times they're more organized, so all you have to do is show up. And I think, to that extent, again, a lot of churches do missions, they do outreach, they do food banks or food pantries, things like that. So again, you can just sort of fit into, something that doesn't necessarily require a lot of you, but perhaps some time or money. And so I think those are, and if you want to get more involved, particularly with nonprofits, there's a lot of different opportunities available. So, it's a matter of finding your niche and what you're comfortable with and what, your time and those sorts of things that, that you're able to do. So I think people can find ways to really to contribute to the lives of others, both at an individual or collective level. Well, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights really sets forth a set of principles, of guiding principles, and tangible principles, things that can actually be accomplished. And in a time such as this, where there's such political divisiveness, I think it provides sort of that North Star where we can look and focus on something that is bigger than ourselves or bigger than, local politics or even national politics. It's something that demonstrates common interests, the things that unite us and that we can agree on. Again, they're really powerful. And I think if we can get people to begin to focus on those principles, that we can begin to move away from the divisiveness and this, again, people against people sort of thing that sort of has evolved. I really think it's the Declaration of Human Rights really does provide us with sort of that. It's a guiding North Star to aspire to and to help us, to work together. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I really do stress the importance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, again, as that North Star. And I hope that it's something that we can, work together to help people understand there is a different way, and there are those commonalities, common values that we have, not just, locally or here in Tennessee or nationally, but internationally. And again, I think it's, a way to help us understand what's going on in other countries, why so many people are seeking to come to this country. The challenges that exist in these other countries are things that we don't necessarily live, day to day, but they, that they are real for them, and they're looking for better ways and better opportunities for them and their families.